Peace and blessings, family. My name is Nero, and I want to talk to you guys today about a new series on my channel in astrology. And this new series is going to be talking about the 12 houses. And another thing that you call 12 houses is like the 12 different life situations that we all go through as individuals. But this series is going to be me actually breaking all of them down as individual houses on an individual level. However, you like to take that. Now, of course, do them in order 1 through 12. It don't really matter 12 through 1. They still all get done. But now I'm just talking just to talk. So let me stop procrastinating and get right into it. So let's talk about the first house. The first house in astrology, and you can also the first house can also be correlated. It can also be called Aries because it rules over Aries. And then yeah, when I get to talking about you'll understand. So let's get into it. Now, the first house is is traditionally known as, or you can say traditionally known as. You can also known as the house of self. So right out the bat, we know this is a house. You know this is a house that deals with the individual, but more so in depth. This is a house that deals with the individual. Um, um, this is a house that deals more so with the individual, um, getting into the things that they going after, the things that they, you know, want to go after. This is a house. This is a cardinal house in a fire. This is a cardinal house. So right at the bat, we know this is a house that's all about taking action because that's what cardinal's about: initiating, creating, taking action, taking the lead, whatever. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, this is a house that it does deal with the individual, but it's a house that deals more so with the individual establishing their own identity, establishing their own identity as a person. And, so that they can know what it is that they're here to do as an individual. What better way to know how to do that than through establishing than to establish an identity for yourself. But that's just one way to look at it. And to add more depth to this first house is also the house where our rising sign is located. And the rising sign is our personality, you know. The rising sign is our personality. It's the mask that we choose to, wear in society, how we choose to appear to people. And so we're saying that too. This is on the rising sign. We're saying how we choose to appear to people. It's also the sign that deals with the first impression, the first vibe, and all that people get from us. So, yeah, and then talk about how we're like this is a house that does with establishing like our identity. You know, um, you can see how that kind of backs up how this is the house that you can kind of see how that goes hand in hand with the rising sign, about like by default. If you don't get what's being said here, I'll gladly explain in the comments. But yeah, if you're familiar with the houses, you already know what I'm trying to say. You already know what I'm trying to talk about. So yeah. Now for the most part, and then we talk about the sign Aries, and we talk about the cardinal house. But this is a cardinal fire house, and then no, let me put that here. I'll talk about that when I get done with the 12th house. So that's going to be a minute. But yeah, this is a cardinal fire house. This is Aries. So what is Aries cardinal fire? That just means this is a sign that likes to take the lead, take the initiative, and all that when it comes to expressing their when it comes to expressing their creativity and imagination. And then remember, creativity and imagination. Where does that come from? It comes from water. And water and fire both deal with emotions and feelings. Water is emotions and feelings and the vibes. Fire, catches the vibe, expresses it. Water catches the vibe, hones in on it and sees what hones in on it, takes it in, sees where it's coming from. So yeah, you don't get what I mean. I explained that plenty of times already. So yeah, um, and then talking about how Aries likes to take the lead when it comes to their own takes the lead when it comes to their own creativity and imagination. We can also we can also see how the first house we can also see how we can associate the first house to that, which is the house which deals with what is that we're here to do as an individual. And then with Mars is the planet of force, a planet of force, aggression and you know um sex drive, like the animal instincts, things dealing with like your ability to fight, things like that. And we see how Mars deals with that, see what we see how with Mars dealing with that, but more so the parts of Mars that deals with our force and aggression. We can see how that also backs up the first house as well. So yeah, it all goes hand in hand. And then when it comes to using that force and that aggression, taking the lead our creativity, when we do that, people can see what it is that we are passionately involved in as an individual and like what we like as a person, which by default is going to which by default lets people know that which by default lets people know that which it is that we identify with. Whew, man. But anyway, let's move on and talk about an actual planet and sign in this house. And I use my own placements to keep it simple. And so you got Neptune in the first house, Neptune and Capricorn in the first house. So let's talk about the planet first. Neptune here, Neptune is a planet for the most part that likes to deal with being dreamy and imaginative, creative, and it can also deal with being it can also deal with getting being lost and being sacrificial, sacrificing and all that, and also this the dissolution of boundaries. So with all that here within the first house, a lot of times you may always be you may feel like a lost soul a lot of times because you don't necessarily have a firm grip, because Neptune is a planet that doesn't deal with the boundaries, so you may not have a firm grip on what it is that you're here to do as an individual, and you may also like to get lost in your imagination and dreams of what you would like to be as an individual. So it's a lot of ways that you could interpret this placement. Those are just a couple of ways that I like to look at it. And then the best way, one of the easiest ways to look at Neptune in the first house is like, hey, uh, the dreamer, pretty much, the dreamer, a dreamy individual, like the visionary, the visionary, the imaginer, all these clumsy ass, all this clumsy shit. So yeah, it is what it is. But that'll just be my take on that. And then with the sign, because the sign is always how the energies are expressed. And so with Neptune and Capricorn, my placement, the Capricorn, and Capricorn is cardinal Earth, and that just means taking the lead when it comes to one's own. That just means taking the lead when it comes to being, um, things dealing with being realistic, secure, stable, organized, structured. And so with that, and the influence from Saturn, which is a planet that deals with limitations, boundaries, and restrictions, which ultimately that is to bring about discipline, focus, maturity, and growth. What people get from me with that Capricorn is, people get from me with that Capricorn ascendant, that's how I come across. I come across someone who's very responsible, structured, and organized, and disciplined and focused. Even though it may seem for the most part in like a dreamy way because of that Neptune influence. If you got Neptune and Capricorn in the first house, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah. Well, with this being said, you guys, this is my take on the first. This is my explanation, my interpretation of the first house. And if you as I always say, if you liked it, feel free to give a like. If you have any criticism or feedback that you'd like to add, or anything that you just like to question to get an answer on, I'd also like that as well, because that's really what it's all about. And that's more important to me. And I want to help serve you guys better. I want to help serve you guys better because that's my goal here, to help to help y'all get it. I say it all the times at the end of my video. I say it all the times at the end of my video, so y'all get it by now. But yeah, like I was saying, this is my take on the first house, and then I'll talk to y'all a little bit later when I get into the second houses and so on and so on. So yeah, and with that being said, I love you guys, and I'll talk to y'all in the next video. We'll talk about the second house. Peace.